Hello folks. Today I'm taking a look at the new Hollyland Lark 150 dual transmitter wireless system. This system only came out recently, but there have already been a lot of reviews released. I still wanted to try it out myself so I could evaluate and share the sound quality, range testing, and general characteristics of the system. Right now you are hearing the Lark 150 system recording into a portable audio recorder, and I am currently using the microphone built into one of the transmitters. This system shares a lot in common with other small 2.4 GHz systems of the last few years. It's very compact, it has built-in rechargeable batteries, it has built-in microphones on the transmitters, and it can also be used with wired microphones with 3.5mm connectors. As I said, this is a dual transmitter system, but the big thing that stands out about it is the charging case that it comes with. It's a nifty idea that is probably convenient for some people. It kind of looks like an oversized wireless earbud case, and works pretty similarly too. And that's because the case is the only way to charge this system. There's no way to charge or externally power the receiver or the transmitters while they are outside the case. This may or may not be a big deal for you, but it's something to consider. One thing that does bother me a bit is that the batteries of the system seem to drain surprisingly fast when not in use. I charged the system fully when I got it. The case and all three components were fully charged. But I put it aside and it was about 2 weeks before I got a chance to use it. When I got the system back out, I found that the case, the receiver, and both transmitters were completely dead. 2 weeks of standby may not sound too bad, though I don't technically know how long it actually lasted. I just know that it was stone dead after those 2 weeks. But it really surprised me that it was dead. For comparison, once I found out that this system was dead, I got out a couple other wireless systems I have just to check. I grabbed the Sennheiser XSWD system, which I last charged mid-October for a project, and I haven't used it since then. That system turned on and showed green battery indication, so that one lasted a good 3 months and counting. I also grabbed my Blink 500 system, and I don't think I've used or charged that system since I did my large comparison of wireless systems about a year ago. In fact, the only reason I haven't given it away is because I've done internal modifications on it, and I didn't want to give away something I've messed with like that. After all that time sitting, the transmitter and receiver still turned on. My only point is that I was kind of shocked that after only 2 weeks or so, the Hollyland system was completely dead, charging case and all. The case does take a fairly long time to charge, but the actual wireless system charges pretty fast. So if the system is in the case and you plug the case in, the wireless system is probably ready to go within an hour or two at the most. As for battery life in use, the transmitters last about 3 to 4 hours. The receiver lasts roughly twice as long as the transmitters, so if you're only using one transmitter, you could theoretically switch transmitters when one dies and get another 3 to 4 hours before the whole system would have to go back in the case to charge. I'm still recording with the Lark 150 system, but I just switched to the included lavalier microphone. The lid of the case closes with a magnet, and the components are held into the case with magnets as well. Again, if you're familiar with how most wireless earbud charging cases work, this is pretty much exactly like that. The case charges via a USB-C jack on the case. It comes with a USB-C to A cable, 2 lavalier microphones, an output cable to connect the receiver to a camera or recorder, and a little bag to hold the accessories. It comes with 2 furry windscreens that can clip onto the transmitters to work with the microphone on the transmitter, but they don't really work with the included lavalier microphones. You could probably find a way to fasten them on the lav mic somehow, but it wouldn't be very convenient, and they have this plastic piece that connects to the transmitter, which would just kind of be in the way on the lav mics. The receiver has a headphone jack for audio monitoring and a little display that shows the battery level of all the devices that are currently connected, as well as the signal strength. It also has audio meters. The display on the receiver even shows the charge level of the charging case battery when you put the receiver into the case. It'll come up on the display and say case, and it'll show the battery level. There are separate knobs for controlling the audio level of each transmitter, as well as working as a mute button. You just press it on the knob and it mutes that respective transmitter. If you hold the left button down, you can cycle between 3 different modes. Mono mode mixes the signal from each transmitter into a single mono output. Stereo mode separates them into left and right channels so that they could be adjusted or edited individually in post. There's also a stereo mode with a -6 dB pad. It's all very simple and easy to use. The receiver and transmitters have little spring-loaded clips on them, which can also be attached to a shoe mount on a camera. The transmitters are slightly smaller than the Rode Wireless Go transmitter. It's not a drastic difference, but they are a bit smaller if that's important to you. I'm still recording with the Lark 150 system plugged into my audio recorder, but now I've switched to a Sennheiser MKE2 lavalier microphone. The Sennheiser locking connector didn't feel like it plugged in far enough to work, but I was pleasantly surprised to find out that it is working, so now you can get an idea of how this system sounds with a fairly expensive lav mic. This is a very good microphone, but it doesn't have the strongest output, so it can tend to bring out any noise that a system has because you have to turn the gain up pretty high to get good levels out of it. In fact, I did have to turn the gain on the Hollyland system up to +8 dB to get similar levels to what I was getting with the included lav or the built-in microphone on the transmitter. And from what testing I've done so far, it does definitely bring out the noise quite a bit. This is a pretty noisy setup with the Sennheiser MKE2 microphone. The ME2 microphone has much hotter output and would probably pair better with this system, but I'm going to use the MKE2 just because, it is a lower output, can kind of show what the system can do, and I'm going to compare now the Hollyland Lark 150 system to two other wireless systems, namely the Rode Wireless Go and the Sennheiser XSWD, and I'm going to use the same MKE2 microphone on both of those systems as well, so we can get an apples-to-apples comparison. Now I'm recording with the Rode Wireless Go system, still directly into my audio recorder, and I'm still using the Sennheiser MKE2 lavalier microphone. And once again, just due to the low levels of this microphone, I do have the output gain on the Rode receiver turned all the way up. So this should give you a direct comparison of the sound quality of the Rode Wireless Go compared to the Hollyland Lark 150, both using the same high-quality MKE2 microphone. And like the Hollyland, the Rode does not have a locking connector on the transmitter, so the locking connector on the MKE2 microphone doesn't really seem like it plugs in super securely, but it does plug in far enough to work. Now I'm recording with the Sennheiser XSWD wireless system, still with the Sennheiser MKE2 lavalier microphone, and still recording directly into my audio recorder. The XSWD system normally comes with an ME2 microphone, which is a much more sensitive microphone, like I said, has much higher output levels. So it's, kind of designed to be matched to this system, and this XSWD system does not have adjustable output or gain levels. So you get what you get. And I can see that the levels on my audio recorder are quite a bit lower than they were with the other two systems, so I'm sure I will have to boost it quite a bit in post. But either way, this is how the XSWD system sounds in comparison to the other two when used with the same MKE2 lavalier microphone that was used on the other two. So hopefully this gives you an idea of how they compare. Now I'm going to do some indoor range testing. I'm going to do it the same way I have done it with other wireless systems that I've tested in the past. I don't get a ton of distance in this test, but I do put a couple of walls with closed doors between the receiver and the transmitter so you can get an idea if you have any kind of dropouts in that situation. So for starters, I'm standing right here behind the camera. I'm going to go ahead and start walking across the garage. And I'm walking to the back of the garage, then I'm going to turn and walk behind the car. So the car is kind of now between the receiver and the transmitter. Go through the first door into the house. Close the first door behind me. Go through the second door up into the kitchen. Close that door as well. And walk out, and now I'm standing in the middle of the kitchen, kind of turning in place. So during all of that, sometimes my body was in the way, and right now there's actually two walls with closed doors between the receiver and the transmitter. So you can see if you get any dropouts in that situation. Now I'm going to start walking back out, walking back across the kitchen, going back out of the kitchen through the first door, going through this second door back into the garage. And walking back behind the car, out from behind the car, and walking across the garage, and ending right here behind the camera again. So, hopefully that gives you some kind of an idea of, with this system, if there's any kind of dropouts in the same testing that I've done with other systems. Before moving on to the outdoor range test, I just wanted to explain something I found while attempting the indoor testing. The locking connector on the Sennheiser mic is not reliable with this system. It just barely plugs in far enough to work, and it frequently disconnects and causes static as I move around. When I'm just sitting not moving, it works fine, but as soon as I get up and move around, it starts to have issues. The little scratching noise you hear in the outdoor testing was not caused by signal dropout. It was caused by the mic connector working loose in the jack. I actually repeated the indoor range test multiple times because the mic connector kept coming loose just enough that it was causing static or switching back to the internal mic altogether. I was actually about to just switch to the included mic and do the test again, but I decided to go with that final test, which only had that one moment of static, and use that because it would give me an opportunity to talk about this problem. I can't say that all locking connectors will have issues with the Hollyland system because I have seen some where the plug is slightly longer than on the Sennheiser microphones, but the Sennheiser microphones that I tried, unfortunately, were not reliable in use once I was up and moving around. So that's a bummer. But the good news is that in all my attempts at doing that test, there were no signal dropouts, so the Hollyland system seems as reliable indoors as any other 2.4 gigahertz system I've tested. So now we'll move on to the outdoor testing, and for that I will be using the included lav mic rather than the Sennheiser to eliminate that issue. Alright, now I'm out at the park for some outdoor range testing. I'm out in an open field, so there's no obstructions, but there's also no surfaces for the signal to reflect off of. There is some traffic noise. That road is surprisingly busy for first thing in the morning on a Saturday, but hey, it is what it is. Hopefully it's not going to interfere too much. I'm going to do this test just the same as I have with the outdoor range testing with other wireless systems. Starting at 50 feet away, the transmitter is clipped to my side, and I am currently facing the receiver. And I'm going to start turning in place. Now, the transmitter is kind of behind my body, so my body is in between the receiver and the transmitter. Continue turning. Now I'm facing directly away. Now I'm going to turn again, and now I'm facing to the side again, but now the transmitter is directly facing the receiver. Now I'm going to turn again, and now I'm back to facing the receiver. So that's how this system did at 50 feet. Now I'm going to move back a little bit. We'll see how it does. All right, now I'm about 100 feet away. Once again, I am standing facing the receiver, and I'm going to start turning. Facing directly away. Now I'm going to continue turning. Now I'm facing to the side again. Transmitter now directly facing the receiver. Now I'm going to keep turning, and now I'm facing directly towards the receiver. Transmitter at my side. So that's how this system did at 100 feet. Let's move back again and see how it does. All right, now I'm approximately 150 feet away. Again, starting out directly facing the receiver with the transmitter at my side, and I'm going to start turning. Now I'm facing to the opposite side with the transmitter facing directly towards the receiver. And now I'm continue turning, and now I'm back directly facing the receiver. So let's move back one last time and see how it does at 200 feet. Now I'm out to approximately, so there's now about 200 feet of distance between the receiver and the transmitter. And once again, starting out receiver, transmitter side. Continue turning. Now I'm facing to the side with the transmitter facing the receiver. Now I'm going to continue turning and finish up directly facing the receiver with the transmitter at my side. So this is how the system does at 200 feet. And with that, hopefully you have a good idea of what to expect from this system in terms of range, sound quality, and just kind of the overall usage of the system and how it works. At $329, it's not the cheapest system out there, but it does include 2 transmitters and 2 lavalier microphones and the two transmitters that both sync to one receiver can be split into separate channels, which is nice in editing. So I do think it's a decent value for someone who needs a dual transmitter setup. If you don't need a dual transmitter setup, it may not be the best option out there. While the sound quality overall is pretty much on par with any of the other 2.4 gigahertz systems out there, it does have a little bit more self-noise when using a low sensitivity microphone. And there are some charging limitations. Even though it does come with a handy charging case, you can't charge when it's not in the case, and it does seem to self-drain fairly quickly in comparison to other systems. So just some stuff to keep in mind. Hopefully that was helpful. If you have any questions, or if there's anything else you would like me to test out with this system, or anything else you'd like me to compare it to, just let me know. As always, thanks for watching. Take care.